Hello and welcome to On Air with Owen. Me, Owen Richards, founder and CEO of Air Marketing, your go-to for outsourced B2B sales and marketing, and my new co-host, fellow business owner and great friend, Neil Finnie.
Hey everyone, Neil Finnie here, founder of the Generator Work Hub, a co-working space here in the beautiful Exeter, and also Next Gen Careers, a professional development program nurturing the talents of tomorrow.
Each week, we'll be diving into the everyday truths around running your own business. And trust me, we're not sugarcoating anything. It's all about the highs, the lows, and everything between when you run your own business as a founder.
Expect candid conversations and valuable insights between the two of us. Plus, we'll be joined by some special guests along the way.
So, time to sit back and tune in to this week's honest conversation. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of On Air with me, your host Owen Richards, and my brilliant co-host who's had a haircut, Mr. Neil Finnie. How are you, Neil? You're looking smart.
Well, it is quite a new haircut, and I've got a dilemma with. Maybe I shouldn't start with a dilemma.
Go on, we want to hear it now.
Hopefully my my hairdresser doesn't go onto LinkedIn. I'm sure he's not watching this podcast. I haven't told him about it, and I'm sure he won't see it. But he's been cutting my hair.
What's his name?
No names. No names. I'm not going that.
Which one is it?
It's a good one, but I'm not going to give a shout out because I don't want people turning up with this story.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been cutting my hair for about 6 or 7 years, probably longer, and it's been fine. I haven't had an issue, but he had to have some forced time off. He'd had an accident and he had to recover from it. So one of his team stepped in to cut my hair. And she cuts my hair better than he does. It's really difficult to navigate because he's always been my barber, like for ages. And I don't know why. It just, whenever she's cut it now probably 3 times, and it just feels better. Like I feel more happy with it. I don't have to have that. Like my dad used to say, the difference between a bad haircut and a good haircut is about 2 weeks. With her, it's no time at all. It's a good haircut. And it's not that his are bad, but it's just, I was like, I kind of prefer that. So he's come back and he's been like, oh, hey, Neil, just to let you know I'm back. I was like, oh, brilliant, cool. I went back to him straight away just because I felt, well, that I had to go back. And I finished, I was like, oh, I think she cut it a little bit better, which is really tough. So I've been looking at the schedule and being like, right, when's he not working?
That's the only day I can do.
When's his night? And he's normally quite booked in. And I went in this day like this, and he was working. And it felt like I was caught cheating. It was unreal. I felt so guilty. I was like, oh, I couldn't book in with you because it was like last minute, and I'm heading off. But I'm back to him now. This haircut was one of his, and it is great. Like it's we talk about small problems because it's a fine haircut. I'm not that too worried about it. But it's like, what do? You just have to.
It does it. Did he miss a bit on the side there? Did he miss that bit? Or?
Lopsided.
Was he meant to do that? Really?
Yeah. So I've got this dilemma. Like, what do I do? So if anyone has any tips, people are like, well, just go with the one you prefer. No, I'm British. Can't do that. And
no, you don't want to upset someone.
Liz's idea, which was completely ridiculous. He's like, go to a different barber's. No,
so go away from the one that you like. Yeah.
Yeah. They both give a good haircut. I'm sure it was just luck from her side. So I'm back to my normal barber. I'm very happy with the results.
Isn't it funny that you'd rather be less happy with your haircut than upset someone else?
Yes.
Isn't it funny when you say it out loud? It's ridiculous. It's really, and you actually think you think he might care, but he probably doesn't.
No,
he probably doesn't give a shit.
No, he probably doesn't even know who I am. Even though
you probably walked in today and he went, "No, I recognise that guy, but I can't remember where from."
He does keep asking me what I want, so maybe it's my fault actually for just giving bad instructions.
There you go. Maybe you thought that looks a bit like Neil, whose hair I cut, but it looks like he's got a better haircut.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
But it's not complete. I guess this isn't completely off topic though, because we were talking about taking breaks as business owner, and he's a business owner, and that was very much an enforced break. And apart from the running of, I guess, the management side of things, he couldn't get back involved because he was incapacitated, is that the right word, to be actually cut anyone's hair. But I think that's what you want to talk about, isn't it? Not about hair cutting.
Yeah, well, no, the only time I've done that was in lockdown, and that was a flipping disaster. So we'll move on from my ability to cut hair. But yeah, we want to talk about the ability to take time off as a founder. And it's interesting. I don't know, maybe 3 months ago, when we right back when we started this podcast, we talked a lot about the capacity impact on founders, particularly in those early stages. And this has been prompted because, let me take a step back and tell a little bit of a story, which is that the Wednesday before last, my closest friend from Australia, lived in Australia for 8 years, if you don't already know that, turned up on my sofa with his family. I got back from work Wednesday before last, and he was there as a surprise, which was
exciting.
Yeah, beautiful, absolutely amazing. And the family spent time together, and it was really made me happy.
Did you have a tea?
Yeah, I didn't have a full tear. I had do you know what? I was in too much shock. I was in shock. So I kind of went to well up and then corrected, but not because I wanted to correct, but because my brain kind of went, no, he's not here. I just couldn't quite compute it. And I think someone made me laugh, and then it was fine. But it is on camera, and it was they videoed me walking in, to not expecting that whatsoever. It was a wonderful week. But naturally, I wanted to switch off from work because we haven't seen them since 2019. So 5 years of not seeing each other. And one of your closest friends is a long time. So wonderful week. But what happened was really interesting, because obviously I stepped away from work. Now I did have, they arrived on the Wednesday, left on the Tuesday, and then I actually had that second week booked off. The Thursday, Friday after they arrived, I didn't have booked off, but I managed to sort of last minute move meetings around, including our podcast last week. So thank you for your flexibility, Neil. And that was all fine. That was all absolutely fine. But the bit of time, sort of Monday last week through to Friday, and they were here the Monday, Tuesday, but not the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I got dragged back into work massively. And it's really interesting because I booked the week off. I didn't have any major plans, just spend time with the family, spend time with the kids. It's summer holidays, all that sort of stuff. And maybe that was the issue. I wasn't away, I wasn't on holiday, I wasn't kind of not in front of my laptop. I could easily be in front of my laptop. But for I'm going to say for the right reasons. And it was opportunities within the business, client, dealing with clients who are thinking of buying from us, and contractual opportunities for upsell with existing clients. So all revenue opportunities for our business to grow. But owing to the fact that we've had some people leave the business in the last 3 months that maybe could have dealt with some of this capacity. B, it's summer holidays, other people are off, and they're not maybe the same level of attached to the business when they're on annual leave, and nor should they be. And see the fact that we've got some capacity challenges around people being off and people leaving the business, and then so much demand coming in at the same time. Lovely problems in many ways, but it meant that I stepped back in, and I was doing a job that realistically isn't on my day-to-day list of tasks that I would do in order to keep the business going in the right direction.
Were you asked to come back in? Like, was it a phone call? Hey, Owen, I don't know what to do. Or did you see it through email chain and you were like, I need to jump back in on this? Like, how did it happen? How did you get called back in?
So the latter of those two is the answer. So nobody during the week said to me, I need you to do this. But it was very clear. And maybe this is a leadership strength. Maybe it's a weakness. I don't know. It was very clear to me that it was needed. So there were a number of things happening which were run rate, which I probably didn't need to get involved with. But because I was in, I then got involved with. So that exacerbated it. But the primary opportunity that drew me in was a current client who wants to grow their account with us, and there was a commercial conversation around that. Our account management team is short at the moment. One person's left, and we've got people on holiday at the same time. So we've got a thin coverage there, and the opportunity is there. And I think that what would have happened if I hadn't have stepped in is we would have gone to that client saying, yeah, we can do this for you. Do you want to buy it? And the problem is we needed to go through a sales process. We needed to take them through the process of thinking about it, understanding the benefits, building a business case for them, all the stuff that sets you apart in a sales process. And yes, it's a current client, but we weren't selling just to the person that we normally deal with. We were meeting new stakeholders in that organization who didn't know us well. And we needed to give them, a really clear view as to how we could help. And so we were presenting to them, and I think we needed to give them the best experience in that presentation. And when I said to the guys, do you need me to help with this? It was a very quick, yes, we haven't got capacity, please. So it wasn't a, can you come and do this? And if I'd have not been there, they'd have found it, they'd have made it work, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, that's the question, is like, would they have made it work? What would have transpired had you not got involved? Would it have been a week's delay? Would they have pulled something together? Is there a lack of processes that you have that people didn't know what to do with?
No, I think it was one of those things, probably through client demand. It needed turning around quickly, which is never needed as quickly as you think it, as a client tells you it's needed. But that was the reality of the message we were getting. And we're trying to keep a client happy, and we're trying to get them to buy more from us because we think it's right for them and for us. And I think there's a really good fit there. But I think what would have happened is we'd have turned up to that presentation with something, but it would have been a 4 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10 in terms of quality. And the person that we normally work with, probably fine. Right? They know us, they trust us, they like us, there's a relationship there. But the other stakeholders who haven't had a direct involvement in our relationship to date, they would have had a subpar experience of buying from us. And when you're asking somebody to spend more money with you, I don't think that's certainly not you putting your best foot forward, is it? So I think we'd have been there, we'd have had something, but I don't think it would have been as strong. Not because the team couldn't do that, but because they didn't have the capacity, the time in those 2 or 3 days to turn around something that was compelling enough. So I think it would have been half-hearted.
Why did you let people that could do it both take holidays at the same time? Did you, was it bad planning on vacations? Because I think this is something that we find, that we tend to let everyone go August. Like in August, no one works. We're all off, which is a bit of a nightmare, because if things come in, there's no one to deal with anything. And we've had issues in the past where we've dropped stuff because of this. And it is because we work in a European landscape. The majority of the staff are in Barcelona. That's kind of what happens. But we're trying to get better. And like, for example, with the generator, again, we don't always get it right, but we say, staff can't take time off at the same time because we've got no cover. We need to make sure we're covering all positions at all times. So is it something that you would look at and be like, we just can't do this again? We can't have people with a certain department or a certain rank taking holidays at the same time.
So the answer is we didn't, though we have, and I echo your sentiment around that. So we actually had one on holiday and one who's left the business, and we haven't yet replaced that person in a team of 3. So slightly different. Having said that, we had other supporting roles around the business that could maybe have supported with that were also on annual leave, who is not their job, but they would have probably been able to step in and support. But we've had scenarios before where 2 people are on annual leave, and you also get scenarios where someone's got annual leave booked and somebody new joins the business and they've already got something booked, and what do you do about it? So you can, like you can. You
want to accommodate as well.
Of course you do.
If someone says, well, actually, this is a holiday, I've got a good price for it, I want to go away here. It's like, well, someone else is on holiday as well. I'd rather you don't want to be the arse and be like, rather you did.
That's it. Well, the demand is high, right? Like you and I, kids are off school. The demand is high to not be at work because logistically it's hard. You can't get no one to look after the kids, or because they want to spend that time, and because they want to spend that time with the kids while they're on holiday and while the weather's good. So you can't play God, can you? You kind of have to roll with it to a certain degree, and life is imperfect. So I'm not too worried about it, and I think it's also fair to say, to your point, August can often be a month where not that much happens, or it can be slower. We're doing these things a bit of a comedy of errors, because you've got that happening, someone leaving, somebody on holiday, and a client. I wouldn't change any of those things, and it's just the way it fell. I'm not talking about something that would have broken the business that the client would have left us for because they were really unhappy. We were able to cover, but this was incremental increased workload with a short turnaround time and a really important objective to be able to achieve that we didn't see coming. So yeah, I don't think I begrudge any of the stuff leading up to it. But it was interesting because I remember us talking about how, I think I probably 12 months ago, 12 months ago, I was in a position where I felt like I could really step away from the business and most things could be looked after. And even though I could have still not been there last week, and they would have absolutely got through that. And it's not about skill set or experience; it's about capacity. I was able to step in, take that workload, because the other answer to your question of what would have happened if I wasn't there is that they would have got done as a 8, 9, 10 out of 10 like it should have been, but somebody would have been up till 11 o'clock at night doing it who isn't getting paid to do that, and I wouldn't expect to do that. And they would. Like, you and I both know that good people do that sort of stuff, but that has an impact negatively as well, doesn't it? So I was able to accommodate some of that without cancelling my holiday, or because I didn't have major plans. If I'd have been overseas doing something very different, I probably wouldn't have.
Yeah. So when can you take a step away? I think that's the question. I don't necessarily think it's the volume of turnover.
No.
I think, surely it's a critical mass of stuff. Like, I don't know anyone, business owner, that can 100% take a step away. No one. I don't think I know anyone in my circle, in my network, that would be able to just disappear as a founder and not worry about things at all. Obviously some people have, more processes or more people in place to take some of that burden. But when push comes to shove, the majority of them, would be taking calls on holiday. Would have to kind of open the laptop at certain points if certain things appeared.
Yeah, and it's like anything, it's a journey. So you can feel like I'm in a really good place there. I've got the right people in the business, because it's not just a critical mass, it's the right people to deal with something. Because then things can get dealt with quickly, but are they dealt with the right way? And I think you reach a point where you've got the right people there, and you've got cover for cover, right? So you've got people who can cover you, you've got people who can do their job well, and then you've got people who can cover them as well. Because if they're off when you're off, then you've got to be prepared for that. Or if there's an increased capacity. But I think that changes, right? You get a good person leave the business. We talked about this a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden, if you haven't got the natural successor to step in, even if you have, they're going to get time. They're going to need support to get to the same level, because otherwise, if they're at that level, they'd be at that job already. So, yeah, you kind of, even then, you have a period of time, 3-6 months, where you've got to step back in, or somebody has to step back in to cover that shortfall of experience and knowledge until they get to the right level. So I do think it's seasonal almost, isn't it? Where you feel like you got it right, the balance is there, you can walk away. Oh no, somebody leaves, I've got to step back in and cover that sort of stuff, or whatever. And there's outside stuff like client base increases, demand increases at a time where you want to take time off. Other times you might take time off when it's really quiet, and it just works out really well.
But the question is do you mind it? Did it impact your experience with Russ last week? Was it something that you thought, well, actually, this is a little bit frustrating. I wish I was an employee working 9 to 5, 2 weeks holiday, and
No.
I can walk away from it.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to moan about it. Let's just be really clear about this. I'm not. I'm in a fortunate position, and that there is no complaining whatsoever. Ultimately, I had a choice, and I made that choice, and I made a balanced, educated choice based on what I thought was best for the business, and therefore for me. So I'm not going to complain about it. Do I mind? I think there are times that I do. There are times that I don't. This is one of the questions I wanted to ask you, actually, is like, how much of this is because I needed to step in? How much of this is because I wanted to step in? And how do you identify the difference between those? Because you must do it, where there's times where you think, I've got nothing on today. Nobody's around. There's no one to hang out with, whatever. The kids are busy. They're off doing dance class or football or whatever it is. I'll pick up the laptop and do some work. And that's not the business needing you. That's you wanting to do it at that point in time, isn't it? And it's just like, where do you draw the line between those two things?
Well, I think it's a really personal question. And I was
All right,
speaking
I'll
to
take it
my
back.
mum. No, don't ask me. Don't ask me.
Offended?
How
Sorry.
dare you ask me such a personal question? I was speaking to my mum around this because when I was growing up, I don't remember my dad being around a huge amount. And we were just talking about holiday times, and he worked in shipping, so he would spend months at a time away in who knows where in the world, and then he would come back. And we lived in Essex, but he commuted every day to London, so he would leave before we got up, and he would be back really late. And we were talking about holiday time, because I said August for me is pretty much no work. And I say no work, it's no real work. Of course, I'm dipping in and out of different things, but it's not like traditional 11 months of the year where we're working on particular projects and programs. And I was like, would Dad ever, how much time did Dad actually take off? And she said 2 weeks. 2 weeks is all he took off. And he normally could get a Christmas off. They would rotate. But per year, 2 weeks a year. That was it. But my mum said that's because he loved his job. He didn't watch sports. He didn't really do anything. The only thing that really made him happy was his job. And I think there's this, I don't know if every founder has it, but for me, I like my work. I like The Generator. I like Career Habit Pro. I like Corkscrew. I like Next Gen. I like all of them. I like the people I work with. So it never feels like work. Yes, there are stressful times, but me opening the laptop is because I enjoy it. Yep. It's because I like that process. I like that part. And Liz will often say, you need time to, to de-stress and to not think about work. I can't not think about work. It's impossible. Yeah. Like I've tried, even if I was, I don't know, having a massage at a sauna or some spa retreat, I would still have things going off in my head, just still like bang, 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 or this, maybe more creative stuff, but I wouldn't be able to switch off. It's an impossibility. Andreu, my business partner in Barcelona, he says he's really good at it. He's currently away camping with the kids in his camper van going around Europe, and he will not think about work in the same way. He'll be able to kind of really take a break, really not think about it, just focus on the kids and the family. And I do focus on my kids and family. When I'm with them, I am present and I am with them. But those, we're walking alpacas tomorrow. I can guarantee you I'll be walking an alpaca and something will pop into my head about something completely random to do with the generator, or something about how we need alpaca tours as a team building. I don't know. But I don't think it ever goes away. And I think I'm okay with that. I think I don't need 2 weeks of not thinking about anything because I'd miss it. That's just it's exactly the same, Owen. I will always look at who Spurs are buying over the summer because it's football. It's Tottenham. I'm interested and I want to see like
cheap players, the cheap ones. Yeah,
the cheap ones. Solanke or whatever. 65 million. Let's see that goes off. But anyway, but I guess my point is the things that you enjoy, you don't mind dipping in and out of. I think the key people it maybe frustrates is like Liz and other people that think I need time away, and I do, but I get time away in these holidays. And
so
do other things.
Here's another thought. So I think as founders, we and business owners, we kind of have this desire, this innate need to be important to the business as well. And I think there's an argument to say that you step in because it's nice to feel important still. It's nice to be a part of the team because you spend all your life outside of the core team, right? You are the founder, the business owner. Sometimes to sort of step in and do something that's maybe not on your job description as a founder, CEO, managing director, whatever it is, and just be a part of the team for a minute. Actually, I think that's there's a good sign behind there. There's a good message. And I think as founders, we feel like we're contributing because often you can get out of the day-to-day and into the stuff that people don't understand, that don't see. And I think it's a really good way for you to step back in and just help out a bit and be a part of the team. And I think there's a little bit of desire to want to be having an impact as well there.
Do you think last week that was how you were viewed? That good old Owen rolling up his sleeves, getting into the trenches. Do you reckon
don't know, they might have gone, get out of my way. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I should ask them. There's a good point there, which is Owen. Yeah, did they look at it and go, "Oh, get out of the way, let us do our job"?
Micromanaging.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I did it for them rather than managing the way they were doing it. But yes, meddling maybe is a different way of putting it. Or did they look at it and go, I'm really grateful he's doing that because I don't want to be up late tonight doing that myself. Oh, no, I'll ask him. Yeah. I'll report back. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Go on.
No, I was just thinking about the thing you said about because we want to feel that that importance in the business, or that we're taking that. And I think there's an element of that. I think definitely, especially when it comes, I don't know, like the problem solving element. I think last time we were on, I think I told you about a bit of a nightmare I had in one of the programs in Lisbon. And, you know, for me to jump in and get involved rather than let other people maybe deal with it, I think actually made it worse. Because I kind of just wanted to jump in and solve it, because it's what I do. I'm a problem solver. I can jump in, I can do this stuff, rather than let people that were there already deal with it. And I don't know, did I do that because I wanted to boost my ego in terms of solving a problem,
or did you back yourself to get it solved, but actually you needed to let it happen a bit more organically? I think sometimes we kind of think, we can. Have you heard of the hippo effect?
No.
The hippo effect. I think the hippo is like highest paid person's opinion. So the idea is the hippo effect. The highest paid person in the room, the most senior typically in the room, walks in, has an opinion, and everyone goes, yeah. And it stifles creativity, problem solving out of everyone else, because you just solve the problem for them, rightly or wrongly, but because they don't, because you are the more senior, you own the business, you're the manager, you're the leader, whatever, people submit to your highest paid opinion in the room, and it stifles their ability to develop, to grow. I'm sure there's a better description of this, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because you asked that question about last week, and actually, even if they were happy for me to help them, is it the right thing for the business in the medium and long term? So over those 2 days, 3 days, it probably was. At least I'd like to think it was, because it needed to be done, and probably supported them from having to work late into the evenings when I could do it, and there was no reason for me, or I didn't see a valid reason for me not to. But in doing so, did that stifle their ability to work through that and solve that problem in a different way? And does that stop them from having ownership of it if we win the opportunity? And I don't know, some interesting questions there.
Okay, so but this is the kind of, I guess, the key thing, isn't it? It's having the ability to allowing them to fail. But that maybe means impact on a contract or impact on your revenue. So I think you have to be a certain level of business to be okay. We'll let someone else go with this, but we have to be aware that we might miss out on this contract. But they're going to learn, and they're going to grow, and they're going to get better for next time. And ultimately, it's going to allow. And I think you have to be a certain size.
Well, I think you have to do that in certain places. So let me quantify this. The value of this contract that we are talking about is in the multiples of hundreds of thousands of pounds a year. So for me, given our revenue size, it's not an insignificant or a small percentage. And so for them to learn how to fail on that probably isn't a smart decision for the business.
If you had been in the office and weren't on holiday, would you have been involved with it anyway?
I would have been involved in it in an advisory capacity.
Okay.
If the capacity had been in the office, yeah. I would have. Somebody else would have been. If everyone had been in the business, if we'd have not had, and we'd had a bit longer, that would have been managed elsewhere. I'd have had it run past me. I'd have put some thoughts and ideas, and that sort of stuff, and maybe contributed, but certainly wouldn't have done it. So yeah, it's not like it would have been something that was miles away from me. I would have been involved in it, but it was the heavy lifting bit that I did, because we needed to make sure that was done and done well, and I could. And it goes back to that, that was my view at the time. Was like, I can do this. These guys can get on with the busy BAU that they've got because they're already under resourced. I can do this, and it's really important that it's done well. And the alternative is that I step in and do their BAU stuff. And then they do this part, and it felt like it was better that way around.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's understanding what you can let go of and what you need to kind of keep to some extent. Because we used to,
never right.
we would, right at the beginning, I would walk everyone around at the generator, and I would speak to everyone from, hot deskers all the way through to people who want offices. Whereas now I'm comfortable with the team being able to do that, because they've been able to learn. And also, if we've got someone new coming, I don't mind them showing around, an individual that's looking for a hot desk or a code club or a permanent desk, because not that I want to fail on that. We want people to come and use the space. But if they didn't sign up because of it and that wasn't a great experience, we can use that as a learning example. But I wouldn't be letting that same new individual speak to someone that wanted a 20-person office.
So there you go.
It's not going to happen. And, I would come in off of holiday.
But is that because, so here's a question for you. Is that because you're better than the team at it? Or is it because you want the control?
No, that bit, I'm talking about someone. Okay, so that's someone new, someone that's been there for a while, and ultimately, and we've got those in place now that I would feel comfortable in passing that.
So if a 20-person opportunity walked in now, you and the team that you've got, they would be able to do that, and you'd be happy with them doing it. Yeah.
Yes, so certain people within the team. I run the team,
and if they're not there, then you're stepping in.
If they're away on holiday, then I'm stepping in.
There you go.
It's that thing, isn't it? It's understanding where you need to come back in, and like realistically, the generator, we're probably never going to get to a level where we're going to have someone else to be able to have those conversations, because just the size that we are, just not going to be feasible.
Yeah. It's interesting. So it's our mantra here at Air, and we kind of, we've got our values, and we're pretty big on this sort of stuff, not like in a culty way, but we use them a lot in our business. And we've got 5 values, and we've got a mantra, and our mantra is we, not me. And the idea behind that is that we make the decisions and we do the things that are best for the business and for its growth and for the team, rather than for the individual within that team. And I think, in some ways, if I look back on that last week, that's kind of what I tried to demonstrate, is that actually it's my week off. This is important for the business. The opportunities this creates in terms of job creation. I mean, we're talking about probably 7 or 8 jobs that it would create within the business. We're talking about a profitability contribution, and that keeps business security and business growth and health, which is a positive for everyone, right? If the business is being successful, then generally most people in it that are doing well and contributing to that are going to be more successful than if the business is not being successful. And so, you can do that, you can make a difference, and you can support and help. And therefore I did it. And I think it's a good thing to demonstrate that. And lots of other people in the business would do that and do similar sorts of things, maybe not quite to the same level, but I'm not the only person to have been involved in business and been attached to the operations on their time off. And I do think there's a threshold where you do step in, right? To your point, if that had been a small sales opportunity, I said, just tell them we can get to it by next week. Or, at the end of the week when you cover it, there is a point at which the value to the business is high enough that actually you just got to drop whatever it is. And there's a point that I would have dropped a holiday. I don't know where that point is, but if that opportunity was a £2 million opportunity, would I fly back from holiday to be a part of that? I don't know, by the way. It's a good question though, isn't it?
Do you think it's on your personal circumstance in terms of, I don't know, how safe you are, what you want from the business? Ask me in 10 years' time, where it's like, well, actually, maybe I'm financially secure, I haven't got any worries. And it's like, do you know what? I'm on holiday for 2 weeks. I don't need to deal with this. If we don't make it, we don't make it. If we get another 50,000 or 100,000.
But I've got my millions in the bank. It's fine.
But I'm so I think it's really difficult, because I think
and whether it's opportunistic,
you're hungry to grow the business. You're hungry to to bring in more customers, to grow,
and you need that energy to do that. Also, it's valid to ask the question around whether it's upwards looking or downwards looking, right? So if something was the other way around, where you're firefighting with a contract that's worth several hundred thousands of pounds and you might lose them, do you jump in because earlier, because it's a negative and a potential risk to the business? If you're away from the generator and I don't know, let's say that something happens with the water and it floods the whole of the generator, and you need all hands on decks to get it back in working as soon as possible so you can make an income. Maybe that's a bad example, I don't know, but do you head on in on a day off to go and sort that?
Of course, we're like COVID. I'm not. It sounds like COVID. I wasn't on holiday when it happened, but you have to jump in at certain times. Wherever I was in the world or whatever I was doing. I sacrificed 6 months of time on the generator and corkscrew and next gen in terms of just trying to firefight, and as you did with Air, to keep things going. So if I'm away, like this thing with the program that we had, I was meant to be at home working somewhat when the programs were happening, but I would have flown to Lisbon to sort it out. I would have dropped everything, flown to Lisbon, because to solve those negative things, it's easier to bring in business than it is to to maintain business, rather. It's easier to maintain that business than bring new business in. So I'd rather try and save that relationship, save that partnership, because trying to replace it with new business is so hard.
Yeah,
But yeah,
agreed.
like 100% with the negative stuff coming in.
I think my message to founders out there would be, I think the majority of people will be wired like you and I. Well, they'll have a trigger to get back into the business, and it'll be higher or lower for different people, and depending on where they are in the business and what they want from the business. But my message to people would be, while you can enjoy time off, enjoy it, because there will be periods of time where you feel the business is peaceful. There's nothing major going on at the moment. You happen to have booked time off or be traveling with family at that point in time, and I still see people on their phone, on emails when they don't need to be. I think that would be my advice. It's a yeah, you can enjoy it, but do take that time to have some space from it, because it's like anything. If you're in a relationship, you don't spend every minute of every day together, because that's not healthy. That time doing your own thing in your own way is good. It's also good for your team to not have you there. It's good for your team to have space from you, so you're not around them all the time. They've got the opportunity to think and solve a problem that you would normally be involved without you. So when you are lucky enough to be in a position where you've got a good team, where the business is at peace, or reasonably well maintained at the moment, and you've got no clients shouting and screaming and no massive opportunities that need to be dived in on, just take that opportunity to step back and just put the phone down for a minute, put the emails, even if it's for a day or two. It doesn't have to be the whole week if you're on holiday before week, but take it, because actually it can be one person leaves the business, or one client leaves the business, or one phone call, and you can be dragged back in when you're not expecting to. And I think that's the times when I look back on a couple of things today, should have made the best of that opportunity where I could have been bit more disconnected, and maybe I wasn't, because you're just in the habit of being in and checking and doing. And I remember somebody once saying to me, your team need the break from you. So it might mean nothing, you picking up an email and responding. You might think you're sending the right message. We're going, I know I'm on holiday, but I'm still contactable if you need me. Actually, no, they need you to A, set the right example, and B, to have the break from you, so that they can do things slightly differently, approach things differently, and learn in a way that they wouldn't if you were there. And I've always thought that was good advice.
Wise words.
Wise words. They weren't my words, just to be clear.
Well,
They are now. Well, interesting conversation. So when's your next time off, Neil? Or do you do no work in August?
well, no, so
Very little work in August.
like very little work. It's not no work. I've still got, because the problem is the US go back very soon, in like end of August. They'll be back, and we've got programs with universities there, so we have to kind of semi-prepare. But one thing we did do, we normally spend August sorting out partner organizations for the students to like work clients. We've actually outsourced that to another organization, because it just eats into our August. Obviously it's a cost that we don't really need to be paying for, but I think from a mental health perspective, and actually just being able to have some downtime, we've said actually it's worth paying for. Let's pay for someone else to get those clients, and we don't have to worry about that, which is great. And actually the caliber of clients is going to be great as well, so I think it's a good move. But then in August I'll do little bits and pieces. Like I say, I've got alpaca walking tomorrow. I'm going to Splashdown on Thursday. I've got the in-laws coming next week, which will be more stressful than
the alpacas.
But the alpacas are working. They're great. They're great. So we'll spend some time with them. It's Freya's birthday.
You have to be careful what you say on this, because you've upset your in-laws and your hairdresser in this conversation.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? No, they're great. They're spending another 4 days with us, so that'd be nice. So we'll do stuff with them, and at least I'll have the excuse that maybe I'll get called into work for a few hours.
There you go.
FIFA with John.
Tell me what time you need a call, and I'll be at the pub. Be at the pub. You got to come into work, Neil, quick.
Well, football starts next week, Owen. Monday.
We're back in. We're back in.
Do you fancy it?
I'm up for it.
Who's Southampton's first game?
Newcastle. Tuffy. Yeah, I know. Love it. Well, mate, good chatting as always. Enjoy your time walking alpacas. And I don't know if I mentioned, nice haircut.
Yeah, it is.
Love it. Thank you. Speak to you soon, mate.